Charlie had a normal birth. We did not expect to have any issues, but noticed early on that he just wasn't as active as the other kiddos.
As Charlie got a little bit older, it was obvious that there was something wrong. And then the doctors at Gunderson kind of pursued that a little bit more and enabled us to get a genetic test.
So he has Emery-Dreifuss muscular dystrophy, which is a rare form of muscular dystrophy that affects the arms, shoulders, and calf muscles initially, and then also can lead to complications with his heart. And so he is monitored by many different departments here at Gunderson.
We were pretty devastated knowing that he had that condition. It was easier to work with him a little bit more. We immediately started right out, with the stretching and the medications and watching his diet.
He has come here for therapy appointments pretty much since he was 3 years old, and most of his therapy has been just PT, OT, speech. He sees doctors in pretty much every department here at Gunderson and is well known by everybody.
They've made huge strides, and there's so much exciting stuff coming actually right now. So, you'd go back 20 years and there was almost, there was no, good outcome. But now there's hope now.
Charlie has a big heart. He loves everybody, he's friends with everybody, and he is very smart, and he likes to watch documentaries and learn new things and share his knowledge with others.
I'm going to tell you what, he's been on a mission, to make the most of what he's got, and he has done so well. And whenever they test him and check him out, he's really holding on to everything he's got. He's a unique kid, and he's done really well, and he's worked very hard.
I'm Diane Larson, and my daughter is Amanda Larson, and we also had a son, Jared Larson. Our journey started when Jared was 4 months old, but he was a happy, bubbly little boy who just had a small head. His brain hadn't developed normally. So he ended up with some developmental delays and some cognitive and physical delays. And then a couple of years later, we're expecting Amanda, and with some prenatal testing, we found out that she probably was going to have some disability also.
After she was born, we kind of knew what Jared had gone through.
With both children, especially Jared, there was a lot of happiness and laughter that was just, it was wonderful, but it was also atypical. So they did this test in 2014 and got the results in 2015 that they had FOXG1. So with FOXG1, from our perspective, what we've had to deal with is they have both had feeding tubes, but they had multiple sets of ear tubes. Amanda she had sleep apnea, so she had her tonsils and adenoids removed, and so that really made a big difference for her life. Amanda has some seizure activity, and she's had a few really scary episodes. She had scoliosis, so she's had multiple bracings for that, and then she had a spinal fusion.
She's just a giggly little girl. She enjoys doing lots of activities with me. I take her fishing, we go to the movies.
She likes hair and makeup. She will request on her communication devices that she wants her hair and her makeup done. She has to choose.
She does bowling, she does dance. Saturdays she goes to Misty's School of Dance.
She loves to be around the other kids and the music and the motion. She just likes being the center of attention. There's only 3 families that I'm aware of that have had siblings with FOXG1. So many FOXG1 parents are afraid to have another child. But I'm like, even if you have another Fox, it's okay because they're best friends.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Hernandez, and I live in Unalaska. I'm 13, and I'm in 8th grade.
It all started when I got a phone call from his school. He had class on the second floor, and he would go up the stairs and he'd just be gasping for air and just be out of breath and whatnot. And that seemed really weird for a kid to do that like almost every day for a couple weeks. So we made an appointment to get him checked out, and that's when we found out that he had cancer. December 12th. You remember that date? Yes, he was only 7 when we found out. Yeah, it was pretty hard to hear once we found out what he had and got to meet up with Dr. Jen and kind of get a treatment plan, because we didn't know anything, you know. That was all new to us, so we really relied on her a lot. He stayed here for a week, just starting everything, getting his port, starting his treatment right away, and just everything. Every so often he had to stay for a week because of all the medicine he was getting and everything.
Like, it was okay, like, it's like good I'm there, like, but then I don't want to be there. But then, like, I get it, I need to be there, like, to be healthy and stuff.
He was in remission for a year when he went to a checkup, and they told us that it had came back, and so we had to start basically all over again. We did a different route. He got a different port because he was getting different chemo. It was this bag that he had to carry around for a whole month that was constantly giving medicine, 24 hours, 7 days a week, for a month at a time. All that medicine, it drained him so much that he didn't want to do anything. But as time went on and he kind of got into the rhythm of everything again, he just went right back up and being active and just being himself again. And it was nice to see that he was able to go from that and just come back and be himself again. Just having him to go through that, it was really hard. Right now, we're in remission. We're only coming once a month, and he's been doing pretty good.
Trey and Brinley are both micro-preemies. Trey was born at 24 weeks, weighing 1 pound, 9.4 ounces, and 11 inches long. And Brinley was born at 27 weeks, weighing 2 pounds, 7.5 ounces, and 15.5 inches long. I guess with Trey, we didn't exactly know why. I was at work one day having some complications, went upstairs to be monitored, and quickly learned I was being transferred out here to Gunderson.
So I kind of knew something wasn't right, and then I get a call that we were going to be going to Gunderson and that I was supposed to meet at the hospital, and I was getting a ride because obviously they didn't want me driving myself. So getting here and finding out that basically we were going to go into labor, but they were going to stall it as much as possible to get the steroid shots in for lungs. And then as early as Trey was, we were also told that he had a 33% chance of survival. So that made it pretty hard the first few days. It was definitely a different experience because he was so small. I mean, even doing like the hand hugs and stuff when your hands are so much bigger than just them themselves, it's crazy how small you can be and then grow as big as they are now.
When we had Trey, we left for the first time at 7 days old. I remember pulling into our driveway and we received the call that they were doing CPR on him.
I was like, oh great, she's never leaving this hospital again until we know that everything is completely safe, because up until then he was doing pretty well, so you didn't expect anything like that. And then I do remember I think he had a few blood transfusions, and every time he had one would be a few steps backwards, so then you kind of worry, and then he'd get better and go forward.
Brindley, I was monitored a lot closely. I actually had weekly appointments for her to measure my cervix length. I did have a surgery at 23 weeks to try to prevent having her as early as we did Trey, and we gained 5 weeks after my surgery, having her at 27 weeks. I guess with Trey, it was our worst fear walking in. We didn't know what to expect. You know, every fear went through your mind. With Brindley, it was definitely a lot easier. We felt at home, we were familiar with the staff, and we knew we were in the right place with her. Trey was in the NICU for 15 weeks, and Brindley was in the NICU for 9 weeks.
Brindley was definitely a different story because her survival rate was, we just were going to be there just for a good while until she was developed enough to go home. So I feel like we didn't struggle as much, and you kind of already knew some of the things that were going to happen or were potentially could happen. Her alarms didn't go off very often. She just was there to grow.
We knew what to expect. We knew we were in good hands. Trey, we had to follow for his eye development for a short term afterwards, but he quickly graduated from that follow-up care. And Brindley was actually born with a hole in her heart. We did have to follow cardiology and do a 3-month follow-up, but by that 3-month follow-up, that had also closed on its own. Both kids are actually very healthy and active little kids. Trey is in kindergarten, 5 years old now in kindergarten, and in wrestling and t-ball. And then Brindley is a 3-year-old who's active in dance and gymnastics.
They've provided lunch vouchers and meals for us while we were here at the hospital. They also have provided fuel cards for gas that have been helpful, especially when gas prices are really high and we were traveling over an hour to get to appointments.
And to raise 3 kids without a lot of support, the money isn't always there. So things like that help a lot for a family.
Most of these come on spontaneously, and families aren't prepared for the what they're going to go through, the traveling, the loss of work, medical expenses. So it definitely puts families at a little bit more at ease when they are there to focus on their little ones.
It was pretty difficult because you start thinking of the cost, the logistics of, all the appointments. And it's just, it took a lot of doctors and a lot of staff members here at this hospital and a lot of family, to make it so he could be where he is today.
It's been a long road, but knowing that where we are and with the doctors and nurses that we have, I know that we're going to be okay.
It's definitely going to people that have young kids that they need that help and that extra little support of just saying you're there, and their contributions don't go unnoticed.
You can't plan for these types of things, and so having somebody that can ease those burdens when you're going through a difficult time so that you don't have to worry about that is very helpful.
If you've given, continue to give, encourage others to give, because it is just such an impact that it makes.
It's really nice to have them on your side when you really need them.
Thanks a lot, because your help and your contributions make a big difference for families. And you may not think it's a lot, but it really is to the families. So thank you.
Do it because you're saving lives. And another thing, when I want to grow up, I want to get 3 U-Hauls full of tuna sandwiches to give to the poor.